The year of 2020 has been one of the most insane years in recent memory. So much so that it has now impacted the NFL in many ways. We may get no training camp or a bit of it. We may have less preseason games, and we're for sure not going to be having OTAs. On top of that, there might be no fans in the stands during these games. When you think of hurdling obstacles, when you think of facing adversity, look no further than the NFL. But when it comes to head coach Joe Judge of the New York Giants, there's no head coach in the NFL under more pressure than Joe Judge. What's going on, guys? What's going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back in to another video. And before we start this video, make sure you guys hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you guys are new and are enjoying the content. We've got more coming your way, more content. And make sure you guys go into the link down below and follow FTFN, the Fan Network, our new network. Make sure you follow that network on Twitch. It's going to be a huge network full of different content creators, and some you may notice. With all that being said, let's get on to today's video. And I really wanted to talk about this because during last night's stream, the Young Guns podcast with me and the Hub, we kind of touched on Joe Judge and how all this adversity, all the problems and obstacles that he's now having to face, and how much pressure Joe Judge is under this year. We all know we started out the season hiring Joe Judge as our new head coach, and he was already under scrutiny and was potentially already under pressure in the start of the season. You have places like ESPN and other NFL networks. You look at all these other media analysts out there talking about Joe Judge, how he was, his resume wasn't as big as somebody like, I believe his name was Doug Martindale, and also most notably Eric Bieniemy. A lot of people thought Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, should have been the head coach for the New York Giants. So already Joe Judge is under the microscope. He's going to be watched throughout the season of how he's done, and is going to be constantly compared to Eric Bieniemy, who is still with Kansas City. So if that wasn't enough pressure, he is also in the media capital of the world, New York, where it doesn't matter if your team is good or bad. You're constantly in headlines. You're constantly facing the news. You look at all these other sports networks, they're constantly talking about New York teams who are in majority terrible teams, but they're still in mainstream news because they are in the Big Apple. They are in New York, the media capital of the world. As Stephen A. Smith always says, there's always going to be a microscope under you, no matter if you're a starter or you're a backup player. Anything you say or do will be in the newspapers. So Joe Judge is already facing that type of adversity, and that's pretty normal. That's just the normal part of the adversity, but there are some stuff that are very unique to this year, events that we're experiencing this year that is definitely affecting Joe Judge, and he's gonna have to overcome that adversity. And I'll get to what I think of Joe Judge and how I think he would overcome this adversity, and if he does, the potential that he may have for this franchise moving forward. But in recent news, obviously COVID-19, the big pandemic that we're facing this year that has pretty much been affecting the whole entire world right now, and especially the United States, of their just insane amount of cases right now. And so Joe Judge is facing a lot of pressure, in that being that they have to shut down a lot of team events. Right now we should be seeing OTAs. Right now we should be covering OTAs, but there's no OTAs right now. They're just beginning to open up facilities, but everything has been through the video, so they haven't had a really good chance on going through their players and looking at what they have. So the pandemic has definitely had a huge impact, and that's all teams, don't get me wrong, that is all teams. But it now shifts me into the next obstacle he has to overcome, and that is a new culture. Remember, Joe Judge has never done this before. He's been a special teams coordinator, he's been a wide receivers coach, he's been assistant coaches on pretty good franchise teams like the New England Patriots, the Alabama Crimson Tide. He's been a part of those organizations, so he's pretty well trained up for this type of adversity that he's facing. But nonetheless, he is still a rookie head coach. He still never has done this before, and he's being put in a position right now where he is under the microscope, and is very limited as to what he's able to do there in New York without the ability to have his players in there and seeing what he has firsthand. So it is very hard to determine what you have in not only your players, but the coaching staff. He's hired guys like Mark Colombo and Jason Garrett from the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Shaplinski, that everybody is very, very hyped up about, including myself. You look at the running backs coach from Alabama. You look at the defensive line coach from Penn State. We pretty much have a insane roster of coaching staff that we're not able to utilize yet, and we're kind of behind on setting a new culture. A lot of these teams already have the same coaches. They're going into this year with the same coaches, with the same players, and with the addition of their drafted players and free agents, but pretty much all these teams are banded together. The New York Giants is completely different. They're dealing with a GM that just had his third draft in his career with the New York Giants, a new rookie head coach that's never been a head coach before, and also a band and variety of different position coaches that pretty much don't really have experience with each other. So their connection, their chemistry is going to be delayed moving next season. On top of that, you have the DeAndre Baker and Aldrick Rosas situation. You know, say what you want, and it might be individual cases, they might be very situational, but that being said, that definitely impacts the culture, and it definitely impacts the message you're going to send to the team. DeAndre Baker is still on the team. He is looking like he's proven innocent, and that's something that Joe Judge already in his young rookie head coach career that he had to overcome, that he had to deal with. And now this Aldrick Rosas situation, which is a head scratcher as to what was in the mind of Aldrick Rosas. Now those are two situations that some head coaches never have to go through as a head coach, or just a very small amount of that. Maybe once every couple of years they have to go through that. But Joe Judge, in his time with the New York Giants, who are known to be a classy organization, in his time with the New York Giants, in his first few months as the Giants head coach, had to deal with it twice already, even before the season started. So that's definitely a situation he has to overcome. And listen, and also the BLM protest, what's going on in the world as far as equality and racial sensitivity and things like that, is definitely a huge impact on the team, because as you guys know, the NFL is full of minorities, full of African American players. So there's obviously a culture type of change that is going to be happening, and there's a lot of media attention that's going to be shifted in that way. And of course, Joe Judge's hiring, being a white head coach, and Eric Bieniemy being a candidate as a black candidate, is definitely has some racial tensions there as well that the media wants to stir up. So that's something he has to overcome as well. So all that we just mentioned, and all that adversity that Joe Judge has to come up with, everybody, including the media, including the fans, everybody is gonna have the microscope on Joe Judge. The pressure is all on him, and we'll see how it turns out. But everybody's expecting, their expectations are very high for Joe Judge. We're not talking playoffs, but we're talking in a growth from this team. And you look at this team, what it was last year, it faced none of the adversity I just mentioned, and the team still went 4-12. So the fact that we have to take all that we just talked about with Joe Judge and produce and grow with this team and make this team better than it was last year and progress from last year is a huge task for Joe Judge. And I'm telling you right now, if some stretch of the imagination, I honestly think this will happen. My season predictions, I have the Giants at 7-9, which is much better than 4-12 and a step in the right direction. If Joe Judge actually gets somewhere near a 6-10 or even a 7-9 record, or let's just hope to God that it's even better than that. If he gets to at least like 6-10, 7-9, he's already on track. In my opinion, he would be already on track in my book as one of the best Giants coaches of all time. Now, that's not saying he already is one of the best Giants coaches of all time, but he will be on track to doing that, because you have to imagine, if he gets this team to a 7-9 record, facing all the pressure that he's under, all the adversity, all the obstacles he has to overcome. Think about if none of that was existent and he had a clean slate, he had no pressure under him. What would he do under no pressure? What would he do if he didn't have all those obstacles to overcome? You have to think it would probably be even better than what we're having now as a record, you know? So I think if he overcomes this, he could overcome anything. And that's what I'm saying. He would be already on track to being one of the best coaches, one of the best Giants coaches of all time. That, you know, if he overcomes this, what can he not overcome? What can you throw at this guy that he cannot overcome? Taking a team that went 4-12 last year, with everything that's going on this year and all the pressure he's under that we already mentioned, to take this team from 4-12 to at least 7-9, what can he not overcome? That next year he can take a 7-9 team that he was with last year, the same group of guys, and hopefully not the same events that happened this year. Next year, say there's not too much going on next year, he could take this team to the playoffs and we could start a dynasty. That's the significance of this year. I honestly think, even if this is a make or break season, if this makes the Giants or breaks the Giants, 2020 will be the most notable year for the New York Giants for seasons to come. We are going to remember this season more than seasons past, not because of what's going on in the world, but because of Joe Judge's impact on the New York Giants. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if you guys agree with me. I think this is a huge test for Joe Judge, and I think it's going to work out in the long run, and it would kind of shape him up into being the head coach that he will be in the future. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new. I'll see you guys in the next video. Woo!